Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics. I'm Roby Brock, joined by Randy Veach, the Arkansas Farm Bureau. And Randy, you are retiring. You can't retire. You're like, it would be like somebody not being on the scene ever again. I mean, you can't disappear.
You had to start off with that, did you?
I did. Tell me what's gone into your decision on this. I know it was not an easy one for you, and I know you had a lot of fight.
No, it wasn't. I struggled with it quite a bit, and I prayed about it a lot, and I think that's what I need to be doing. I've been on the board for 20 years, 5 of those years as vice president, and this is my 11th year as president. And I just felt like that, that needs to continue to move along. And so I decided that I would not run again and let some of those other good leaders that's behind me to move up into that position.
One of the things that they always say is that if you can leave an organization better than when you found it, and I think you probably feel that Farm Bureau is in a better position today in terms of strength, in terms of political influence, in terms of finances than it has been in a long time.
We are on all those accounts, and I've just put my whole heart into it. This is a great organization. It's a strong organization, and we are always constantly out there advocating for our farmers and ranchers. And so I just have a love for the Farm Bureau, and I just think that it does a great job, and that's why what I tried to do the whole time. My predecessors, Stanley Reed, and some of them did a great job as well, and so had to keep it going, and we actually have grown it some, and so I'm really thrilled over what's going on.
Got a lot of good folks waiting in the wings there, so we'll see what happens.
We really do.
Let's talk about some natural disasters that have been impacting agriculture this year. In particular, you've had in recent days here the storms from Tropical Storm Barry are pounding the state of Arkansas in several places. Prior to that, we dealt with the river flooding coming down out of Oklahoma and into along the Arkansas Rivers path right there. Give me your assessment of where the state of agriculture is in response to these two natural disasters.
Well, agriculture has been extremely crippled with what's been going on. And, and I'll put on top of that, and you're probably going to talk about that in a minute, but trade on top of that has also hit us. So we have seen, though, some really, really tough situations along the Arkansas River, but not just the Arkansas River, but along the White River and in the Red River all the way down south. And of course, over in my area, the Mississippi River, it's still levee to levee. And that's one of the situations that's really making this even worse, is that the Arkansas River has dropped down till it's probably inside of its banks now, but it's still real high. But the Mississippi River is so high that, it can't get out. And actually, we've got some areas where the Mississippi River is actually coming back out into some of those rivers because it's so flooded. It's, like I said, it's still from levee to levee. So the situation is not over. It's still severe. And on top of all of that, we had rains that pretty well excessive rains all over the state. And so hay crops are destroyed and pasture lands rutted up and been beaten up with the cattle and everything like that. And so we got those situations. And then row crop, we've got a lot of late planted crops, and we've got a lot of acreage, thousands and thousands of acres that will not be planted. A lot of that's prevented planted, but some of it is just that there's this water stayed on it too long, and there's too much damage when the water left that they're not really going to be able to get a crop in.
I think people don't understand too that, and we report on this, but it can also work its way into the cycle when you have this type of flooding and the inability to use the land like you're supposed to. It also leads to a whole different kind of approach to dealing with pests and weeds, and all that stuff gets thrown off the cycle too. I don't think people understand the ramifications go a lot further than that.
It really does. There's a lot of consequences to that kind of rain and untimely rain and stuff like that. And like you brought up, Hurricane Barry is coming up and dumping a bunch of rain on us now too, and we're still hadn't got rid of all the other water. But yeah, there's just a lot of situations that you deal with. If you plant over 2 or 3 times planting, a lot of fields have been planted 3 times and still don't have a crop. So the expense really goes up. And then the late planting, as you know, early frost would be devastating, or early freeze would be devastating on late planted crops. But without a doubt, those yields are going to be reduced.
So in case you hadn't talked me out of even wanting to think about going into farming, you have done that. But there is also, and you mentioned it earlier, the compounded situation of the trade wars that have been going on,
Right.
U.S. versus China, and certainly a reworking of the NAFTA agreement with the U.S. CMA. Let's talk first about China and what you see going on there. Do you see any relief in sight? Do you think that we are close to some sort of negotiation, or do you think that the presidential election now has kind of entered into the picture and that may change the political calculus?
Well, I think the presidential election has entered into everything, don't you? I mean, what we got going on there is and it's going to continue to be that way until finally the election. But yeah, China, we've had some discussions off and on, but right now we're somewhat talking over the phone, the way I understand it, and that's about it. So I don't see us moving that much, and I don't see us moving that very quickly either when it comes to China. But I'll just get you an idea of how devastating that is. Now it's hurt all of our commodities, fruits and vegetables and everything, and the flooding has really hurt our fruits and vegetables too. But on top of that, with the trade, I'll give you an example of soybeans. 27 million metric tons this time last year to China. We're below 9 million metric tons to China right now. So you can see where we're at on these markets, these foreign markets, and we have to have those foreign markets. The good Lord has blessed us with great natural resources, and we're able to produce a lot more than we need to feed our people in the United States. And so we have to have those markets overseas. And it took years to build those markets.
Right.
And now
they don't come back
some.
when they get severed like that either. They don't just recover quickly.
That's right.
So I guess give me this public opinion assessment of where the state's agriculture sector is right now. They have been big supporters of President Trump. If you just look at the political lay of the land, you see this tariff policy go into effect and have the detrimental effect that you've just outlined here. Do you think that farmers are still willing to be patient with this trade policy, or do you think that they have said, we've made our move, we've stated our case, it's time to find some sort of resolution?
Well, I think they would really like to see this resolved as quickly as possible. I mean, we'd like to have it done today, of course. But China was a bad player and been a bad player for a long time when it comes to the WTO, and they never had been brought to the table and made to comply with what the regs are in the WTO, and they have never been done that. We wanted somebody to get in there and do that. Now, the consequences have been pretty severe, and especially on top of that, like we are now with the rains and everything. And we're not the only state suffering from this.
Correct.
And it's not all below either. I know Mississippi's really got a bad situation there in the state of Mississippi, but if you go on up even into Ohio and places like that, I got a cousin, they got a bunch of them that farm up there, and they call me, and they hadn't planted a thing and probably won't.
Wow. And
so we see that that situation is pretty large, and it's very difficult. And then on top of that, with all this, it just seems to like that things just keep piling on us in agriculture. But we're resilient, and we're optimistic. And so we'll see our farmers and ranchers out there going at it hard every day to make this thing work.
I've never met a pessimistic farmer, I can tell you that. They don't exist. Let's talk about, I think I called it the USCMA earlier, the USMCA, the US-Mexico-Canada agreement here, the new NAFTA. You have had some conversations in Washington, D.C.
I have.
We're waiting on a vote, basically, from the U.S. Congress. What's it going to take to get Congress to sign off on this? I hear our delegation seems to be supportive of it, but it hasn't come to a vote yet.
Our delegation is very supportive. They're supportive of agriculture. They really are. I can't say enough about our delegation. They're supportive of agriculture. We really appreciate all the work they do. And we have been there. I've been there 3 times in a little less than 2 months, and sitting down and talking with them. And so they're doing what they can, but things are still moving kind of slow. But we definitely need to get some help. We need another market facilitation program. They're working on that. The way they're wanting to implement it, I think there's a better way to do it than where they're doing it. But we
Can you
need
share
we
any
need
details
that.
of that? I mean, I'm not
Well,
totally familiar with what's being
they're
discussed.
going to go by county yields this time, is what they're saying. Now, this is not completely set, but I was just up there and talked to them, and that's what they're planning on now, is going by county yields. And so you're going to not be able to determine there between irrigated and non-irrigated, and of course it's more expensive in irrigated. So some of that's coming into place too, and I'm not sure that it's going to cover all of our commodities, all of our farmers and ranchers out there. You know, our livestock people, they've been severely hurt as well, and our fruits and vegetables and specialty crops and all of that. So we need some help for all aspects of agriculture, all agriculture in the
What do
state
you
of
think is the
Arkansas.
obstacle to a vote? Why is it not happening?
Well, I think that the position the USMCA is in right now is that they are, Mexico's approved it, Canada's waiting on us, and the president hadn't sent it up yet, and I think he's waiting on the speaker, Nancy Pelosi, to say, yeah, it's time, send it up. So I think that's where we're at. We would like to see it done. We need to get it done before the elections. We need to get it done before the end of this year.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do. And I think that we have a lot more clout and a better position if we're dealing with it before the end of the year. And that's what we need to see.
And last question on this subject right here, and then we'll wrap up here. But what is the best change in this new NAFTA, this new USMCA, that you think will benefit Arkansas agriculture the most?
Well, I guess the thing that I would say for the best thing that came out of there was we wanted going into that do no harm, and we pretty much ended up with that do no harm. Now, there's some improvement in dairy. It's not really big, but they did away with the Class 6 and Class 7 milk classes, and which Canada had just created, so to speak. And so they did away with those. And but we've got some concessions with Canada on that they have been undercutting us in other countries to steal our markets away in other countries. So that'll help dairy too. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But that is another significant point there. We got a little more issues when it comes to quality and assurance and what the product that's coming in from countries from Canada or Mexico, sanitary, phytosanitary, and those kind of things. And so we've got a little more assurance. It's a little beefed up in that area also. So there's some improvements. It's not monumental. We hope that the dairy will be closer to that, but I don't know if that it will.
Well, there was quite a bit in the agreement that helps manufacturing
Yes,
in
it
America,
does.
and that may be where some more of the lift
Yes.
is. All right, he's Randy Veach with the Arkansas Farm Bureau. He's president of the Arkansas Farm Bureau for at least a few more months, aren't you there?
Yes.
Thank you for your longtime support of our program. You guys have been a great partner with us, and appreciate you for all these 20 years that we've been doing it, and we'll keep it going. So,
Robbie, we really thank you because you are a good advocate for agriculture, and we really appreciate that, and appreciate the opportunity to be here to talk about agriculture.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all for today's program. I'm Roby Brock. We'll see you next time.